Hello everyone and welcome back to The Buzz. I'm here with Mr. Michael Lewis.
And my name is Renee Lucas. I work at your Youth Services System in Wheeling, West Virginia.
We're going to hit on a couple topics today, one being vaping in high schools all around the world. Mr. Lewis, do you want to continue on that?
Yes, thank you very much, Braden, and welcome, Ms. Renee. It's nice to have you here and the resources that you bring for us and our students here at school.
Thanks for having me.
We want to talk a little bit. We want to talk about vaping today and start this conversation because vaping is really taking away from our students' education. One, in the sense that they're being caught with vape pens, with any number of things, nicotine, THC. God forbid anybody has something with fentanyl in it, because then that you're really talking life and death. But we want to be able to then have our students begin to understand that it's an addiction process, and that by doing that and continuing to get caught, they, one, start out with in-school suspension. That will move for a second offense to out-of-school suspension. If you get caught with, say, for example, a Delta 8 or a THC vape, you know, you're automatically suspended for 10 days, and we're going to request expulsion in front of the Board of Education. So very serious consequences come along with this. And why we're taking the approach that it's an addiction is that then if something causes problems in our lives, we typically don't go back to that same thing that's causing problems. What we normally do is move away from it, change some of our behaviors. But what we're seeing with vaping, we're having students caught on numerous occasions, continuing to go back, even though they've had consequences, in-school suspension, out-of-school suspension, even students that have been expelled and work in one of our alternative programs, still can't stay away from vaping because they just don't understand the fact that they are addicted to this process. And that's why I asked Ms. Renee from YSS. She's here with us today because she's been coming every Wednesday, and for students that we've been catching, and we catch kids every day, parents, every day community members, every day, who are vaping and then have to go through consequences. And we need your help and everybody's support to be able to fix this problem. I really think it's a drastic problem. It's something that I said again is going to cost students their education. And when you start talking in those terms, then we really need to start addressing the root problem, which is addiction, that they can't stay away from these vapes, which are readily available in town. Now, granted, they're not old enough to buy them, but we have students bringing them in sometimes 4 and 5 at a time so they can distribute to their friends. So it is a very real problem. And students of all socioeconomic backgrounds. We're not just talking students that might be failing out. We're talking high flyers. We're talking all the students in our school are at risk to using vape pens. And that's what we want to get out. The first step of anything is beginning to talk about it. So that's why we invited then, Braden and I invited Ms. Renee in today to be able to talk to us about the services that she's providing for us here at the high school. Ms. Renee?
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. So I want to talk a little bit about what I do and what we do as an organization first. So my role at YSS, I'm a youth peer recovery support specialist, which is basically working with kids with substance use disorder, and that includes vaping because it is a substance and it does, like Mr. Lewis said, have the same behaviors as other addictive substances. So we have multiple services down there. We have therapy. We have tons of other things that we can get them hooked up with. But my concern is when it comes to vaping, it is an addiction and needs to be treated as such. And these kids are like starting the process in their brain of addictive behaviors, which unfortunately opens them up to other behaviors, other substances. Yeah. And that's what we're finding out a lot of the times is happening. Now, not in every case. I'm not, saying every kid that tries vaping is going to end up like that. But with education, early intervention, I'm hoping to find the ones that might be silently struggling and might need our help. So.
And from what I understand, there's actually fines for these kids that are vaping.
Correct. Yeah, there are actually fines that come along with the nicotine vapes, and I think the first fine for first offense is like $275, and it only increases from that first offense. So yes, there are those. There are students with that are caught or written a citation from Captain Paul who's here with us at Brooke Middle School. He'll come over, write the citation. There's a court appearance, so it's not just something that's handled here at the school. It's something then that gets elevated very fast and moves forward very fast. And you're really talking about a substantial amount of money that students and parents have to lay out. So we really want people to be conscious of that.
And I would like to add, I mean, instead of, just giving them the fine and just the discipline, we're hoping to come in on the other side of the behavioral side of that and, help that way.
Yeah.
So, because that, I mean, the root of the problem is what we're looking at. It's not necessarily a vaping problem. It's an escapism problem, an anxiety, a depression problem. So we're trying to look at the root cause and see how we can help.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think, and with many processes like this, and beginning down, when you start looking at things such as addiction and about how and why people are using vaping to begin with, as Ms. Renee just said, we're not going to punish our way away from that. That's what I mean. The students will continue to return to that because they don't understand that connection. The punishment, the fines, none of those things seem to be working. So we've invited Ms. Renee. She's part of our intervention here at the high school. So she'll be speaking with students who are caught as one of our primary interventionists to be able to step in and be able to try to support our students to move forward, because none of us are interested in punishing students. None of us. But we are very, very interested in caring for them, trying to get them to have them understand what this process looks like and how their behavior is not going to be resolved, and any anxiety or emotional distress that they may be in are not going to be resolved by looking for a drug. And that's what nicotine is, that's what THC is, obviously, and trying to resolve those issues for themselves. We want to do that with Ms. Renee and other interventions to support them.
So I would like to add my format. I usually work on individual and small group basis. I do evidence-based curriculum and treatment, and just really to find the root cause of why these kids are reaching for a substance to make themselves feel better. And I mean, I have personal experience in this. I've gone down a long road of bad decisions, so I know a little bit about quitting things. And if I can help one kid not make the same mistakes I did, it'd be worth it. So.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
From what I've seen, there's more than them just vaping in our schools. It leads to school buses.
Correct.
And even at home with some of these kids.
Very good. Very good point, Braden. It does, absolutely. Games, we're finding students who are doing this all over. And even though a parent may not provide it, for example, they're available.
They are, yeah.
So very available. So we need to, all work together on this. And I'm a big believer that, that we as a community of students, faculty, staff, parents, our community organizations, I believe we can resolve this, that we can, support our students in a healthy way to be able to help them move forward in their lives, to be who they can be. So, yeah.
I agree.
And I've seen some people actually compare vapes with coffee, because coffee's an addiction just like vaping, except there's different substances that can actually be more healthy or worse. Like with vapes, you can get popcorn lungs and stuff of that nature.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I would like to add, I mean, nicotine is one of the most addictive chemicals out there. So I know it's kind of looked over and it's looked at as not a big deal, but it is. And like I said earlier, it opens the door to other addictions later in life. So.
And then just to go, and it is marketed straight to our kids.
Yeah.
I mean, the names that they use for the vaping products, the flavors that they use, all of those things they're not marketed to adults. I mean, adults might enjoy those different flavors, but Fruity Pebbles and all the other things, the cartridges are coming out and making them look like little speakers or USB hubs or something that you could try to pass through school. I mean, the industry is very capable of trying to outsmart all of us. So the only way to outsmart them is to work together to be able to then resolve this. Yep.
And I'd like to point out that even with the vapes being disguised as many different things and also the different flavors, most of these flavors you can tell are more pointed towards kids.
Correct.
like you said, Fruity Pebbles or cotton candy.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of flavors like that that are more pointed towards the children because they're noticing that more kids who are just reaching 21 are actually buying this and then supplying it through schools to younger children.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. So yeah, we just need to be able to approach it in that manner. We really appreciate you coming.
Yeah.
Miss,
Thank you for
Miss
having me. I'm
Renee.
excited to work with you in the future.
Yeah, and you'll be here each Wednesday, and
Yep.
she's already working with several students. So for our parents who are listening, when you have contact with Miss Renee, or she sends a form home and she'll follow up with a phone call, please strongly consider allowing her to work with your child to be able to work through this process. Not only your child, but also with you, so that you can support your child as well.
Yep.
So we have a lot of great services out here. I'd like to thank you, Braden. You're always such a professional MC. I really enjoy sitting down with you. You have great insight.
Thank you. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here.
Okay.
We're about hitting our mark.
All right. And when we do that, I just want to throw out, I always like to do the little history piece, as you reminded me, real quick, that a lot of West Virginians don't know, but I've done archaeology in West Virginia for about 30 years. And one of the things that my great friend, Bob Pyle, who's a world-renowned archaeologist from Saberton, who since passed away, God bless him, he discovered the oldest European body in the Americas. And it's down in Wyoming County. The Smithsonian, when we examined it, Smithsonian examined it, provided then support for the program. We sent away a piece of bone from the shin bone for carbon dating. We sent away a back tooth for mitochondrial DNA. And when they came back, the body itself was carbon dated to be 710 AD, and the mitochondrial DNA came back to be Celtic in nature. So it's often referred to as the Celtic monk. And you're talking about 800 years before Christopher Columbus, talking about 300 years before Leif Erikson. So we really have something to be extremely proud of here in West Virginia, along with many other things. But we need to get that out there for the world to hear.
This has been The Buzz, and we'll see you next time.
Right?
Thank you.
Thank you.